Welcome to the Streck seminar. We have a few important announcements before we begin. To view this presentation in full screen, click on the full screen icon in the toolbar towards the top of your screen. All participant lines will be muted for the duration of this presentation. This recording is a replication of the live presentation given on January 17th, 2018. While the content will be similar to the live presentation, some minor changes may be noticed. Hello everyone. I want to thank you for attending today's presentation, How to Successfully Integrate STATS-Link into Your Lab QC Program. My name is Eric Homolka, and I am your host. I'm the Quality Control Manager at Streck, and I also manage the Streck STATS-Link program. For those of you new to Streck, we are the world leader in the manufacture of controls and calibrators for automated hematology instruments. We are also a leader in the production of blood collection tubes used for the evaluation of DNA, RNA, and for immunophenotyping white blood cells. And we do this all from our 200,000 square foot campus in La Vista, Nebraska, in the heart of the United States. Streck's excellence in developing innovative technologies and our commitment to quality has resulted in the creation of partnerships with many of the world's leading automated instrument manufacturers. Streck also recently became the exclusive distributor of Italian company DSA's newest sedimentation rate analyzers, the MiniCube and the Cube 30 systems. As you all know, a big component of managing a clinical laboratory is having the ability to efficiently review and evaluate instrument performance. Participating in interlaboratory peer groups is a key component to ensuring satisfactory instrument performance and maintaining regulatory compliance. The Streck STATS-Link program is a fast, efficient system that will allow you to review instrument data real time and will give you a robust tool to troubleshoot instrument performance concerns. In this presentation, we will show you how to create user accounts, join or create lab accounts, manage your account settings, upload data, as well as customize and download reports. We will also show you where to find frequently asked questions information, the user's guide, and instructional videos. This presentation will also be recorded so you can review any portion on your own at any time or share it with your colleagues. If any of you have questions, you can submit them during the presentation by using the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. We will address these questions after the presentation. I'm pleased to introduce you to today's presenter. Erin Thomas is an Applications Development Manager here at Streck. She led the development team in the creation of STATS-Link and continues to lead projects for ongoing improvements to STATS-Link. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you, Eric, for that fantastic introduction. We will begin today by using Internet Explorer because it is the most challenging browser to target. We will use 3 accounts, Stats Data UAT, Webmaster, and eThomas as an admin. We will look at new customer enrollment, so signing up for STATS-Link, joining an existing account, data submissions, and reporting. We'll begin by opening up the website here, the application. And I'm going to log in and show you some of the helpful information that's available. So when you open the application, you're presented with the home page. You'll notice on the left the icons to the most commonly used features: data entry, real-time reporting, monthly reports, and then My Account. And you'll notice on the right, upcoming due dates, and with those products specified in green. Now these are the ones that this particular account is currently signed up for. And then you'll also notice a documents list. This is a quick way to access additional helpful information. If we click on the Help menu and then the Support menu option, we can also see additional documents as well as sample reports for different products and video tutorials. I will try and indicate when we are approaching a topic that also has a related video tutorial. If we click on the FAQ menu option, you'll notice that we have videos in line with the answers to the questions. So that's a quick way to find help when you have signed up for the application. All right, I'm going to leave this application and take you to the demo software. We will continue the demonstration today using that demo software. First thing we'll do is create a brand new enrollment or sign up for STATS-Link. The first thing we'll do is create a login for me as a user. So I'll enter my address, my email address, and then create a password. We use fairly standard credential requirements. All right, and now I have created the login and received a confirmation message. So an email has gone to my inbox, and I can go take a look at that message. There's my confirmation that I have indeed signed up for STATS-Link. We do ask that you add the statsdata@streck.com email address to your address book and save senders list to whitelist it. I will now use those credentials to log into the application. There is a helpful video walking through the steps on how to create a login. All right, to create a brand new enrollment, I'm going to choose the path for a new account. And that begins the enrollment process or the registration. If I click continue, I'm shown all the fields that are required. And so I'll be sure to make sure I enter that information.
And while she's entering that information, one thing to take note of is that while you're setting up this account, the system automatically saves the information that's being input into this enrollment. So in the event that you get pulled away from your computer, need to deal with something else, and you time out, when you log back in, the system will take you directly to where you left off, so you don't have to re-enter any of that information.
Great. That is very helpful. So the next screen that we're presented with is the instrument that I have at my location and the products that I run on that instrument. So for today's demo, I'm going to enter 1800, and you'll notice that my list is filtered to present me with any instrument that has 1800 in the name. So in this case, we'll choose the Abbott Celldyne 1800, and the products that we run on the 1800 are Para 12 Extend and CVA for Celldyne. I can enter the serial number of the instrument, the software version that we're currently running. The upload date format applies to the instrument file that I can upload into the application. So if I hover over this helpful text, you'll see a message. If planning to upload data submissions, this will be the date format of the file from the instrument. And then units of measure. So conventional units are what our U.S. customers typically submit data in, and then SI units are what our international customers typically submit in. If I indicate that I submit an SI unit, the stats team will reach out to the person who is completing this enrollment and help them configure the parameters in SI units. It's very important that the conversions are configured accurately, and that's why we reach out to customers, just to make sure that we all have the same understanding and those conversions are proper and correct. I can add any extra notes that I might wish to convey about my instrument and choose the Save Instrument button.
One of the great features about this system is, and while you're going through the enrollment process, you may ask yourself, well, I'm not sure I know exactly what the date format for my instrument is. That's okay, because this information can very easily be edited later on, and Erin will walk through that area once the account is set up. But the key to this is we made it very user-friendly that you can make edits and save changes if anything changes within the lab, or if you discover you've entered something incorrectly. It's very easy to correct.
All right, so you'll notice that the instrument information has been stacked on top of this dialog box. And as I continue to add instruments, it will continue to stack those up on top, so you do not lose track of where you are. At this point, I'm going to finish adding instruments. And I'm presented with the screen for contact information. So right now, the only thing the application knows about me is my email address. So to be helpful, we also need the contact's first name, last name, and phone number. So I'll go ahead and add those. And I will add that the person who is completing the enrollment will become the primary contact for this lab. The primary contact has a little bit of extra permissions and receives some extra notifications. If I expand the box here for optional information, you'll see that it's already picked up the demographic information I entered about the account or the lab. But for myself, I can add the department that I work in and any other information that might be helpful. I can also add an additional contact for this particular lab. So say at the point of enrollment or sign up, the person who is completing this knows there'll be 2 other people in the lab supporting the application. They can say yes to add a secondary contact, and they can complete the information about those additional users. Okay, and at this point, I won't add any additional users, just this one here. Oh, there we go. And so now I receive a message that the enrollment process is complete. It will be reviewed by the stats team, and you will be able to access this account within 2 business days. So now we'll go back to our mailbox, and we'll also receive a confirmation message there.
And we give 2 business days primarily for time change differences and the fact that this is a global program, so we are dealing with countries all around the world. Sometimes there can be some lags and delays associated with that. In general, the stats department typically approves accounts within a 24-hour period.
Very good. So this message communicates to the person who's completed the enrollment that same information, as well as provides contact information for the stats department. So if there were any questions or they really needed to expedite something, they could sure reach out to the stats team and get assistance. All right. If I was to attempt to log in at this point without being approved, I would receive a message that I still need to wait and we are processing the request. And there is that message. So at this point, I'm going to pause the application, and I'm going to log in as an admin and go ahead and approve that particular enrollment. This will just take a moment.
And while Erin is doing that, one thing I do want to also point out is there is a Streck Users Guide that you can find in the document section on the home page when you initially sign in. That User's Guide is currently available in English. However, very soon we are going to provide it in 6 different languages. Those languages would be English, Italian, German, French, Spanish, and Japanese. And that upgrade will be happening soon.
Very good. All right, so through the magic of WebEx, that account has been approved. And I'm going to use the credentials that we had created and log into the application with those. All right, you'll notice that we've successfully logged in. And on the left here, you see those quick links that we had referenced earlier. On the right, the upcoming due dates for the 2 products that I've signed up for, announcements, and some additional documents for this particular demo software. If we go to My Account on the menu and click on Info, I'm presented with the demographic information. So if my phone number happens to be updated, or I get a new suite number because I've moved down the hall, I can also come in and update that information very easily. We can also go to the contacts information, in which you'll see the primary account, as well as all contacts that are signed up for this lab. So the primary checkbox is on the left here to indicate that the webmaster is indeed primary. So you'll see that here. And then the secondary user is also signed up here. Okay, and then we can also change instruments. So right now we're enrolled for the 1800, and we know that our software version has been updated. we can come into the application, update the software version, and go ahead and save those changes. And earlier, Eric referenced an easy way to update information. Again, if you needed to change your upload date format, you would just come back in here and make those changes. You can also add a new instrument for your location. So you happen to get a new instrument, you can go ahead and add that, and it will be immediately available for data submission. We also go to the settings here, and I should note that there is a helpful video for editing instruments. So under settings, we have 3 different tabs. We can update report settings, notification settings, and user settings. So for the real-time reports, you can choose to view the customer data submitted section of reports. And that section is where we repeat back to you the data you submitted to us. By default, we do not include that section in the real-time report just because it makes it longer. And then for monthly reports, currently for this particular account, all sections are turned on. But if you choose not to receive the interpretive comment section of the report, and that just shows a quick snippet, the Levi-Jennings graph or the SDI charts, the historical data comparison, or the customer data submitted section, if you wanted to not receive any of those particular sections of the report, you can just set them to hide, and then the next time the monthly report is generated, that section will not be included in your report.
That's an interesting piece. When we were developing this new STATS-Link program, we surveyed our current customers, and we had a very wide range of opinions about the reports. About half of the group thought that the reports did not contain enough information. They wanted more statistical, analytical information included in the reports. And then the other half said the reports were already too long and they wanted them to be abbreviated. So when we developed this new system, the idea was we wanted it to be customizable. So those customers that want a tremendous amount of analytical information about their instrument data, they could receive that data, but then on the same token, the customers that simply wanted the peer means and their own instrument means to be able to make sure that they're in compliance, they could also customize their report to minimize it and to reduce the number of pages that the report was. So we feel this is a really great feature with this new system that you're really going to like.
You can also update notification settings. So clicking on the notification settings tab here will allow you to choose additional notifications, and these are for the user that is currently logged in. So for the lot expiration, you can receive a message if we're approaching the lot submission window end, the due date, if the peer group grows to be greater than 9, or to receive reports via email. Most people enjoy that feature.
Yeah, this is another great feature that we're really happy to be able to provide to our customers. That some customers, as I think we all experience at one time or another, you get bombarded with a tremendous amount of emails that you have to sift through. So this gives you the ability, if you're not interested in getting these kind of notifications, you can certainly turn that function off very easily. On the same token, there are people that like these reminders to make sure that they don't miss submission windows, or when a peer group is greater than 9, which statistically, is valuable when your peer group gets large enough. It's good to get those informational emails, and certainly some customers like that. So again, it gives you the flexibility to either choose to receive them or to turn that feature off.
Very good. Okay. And then user settings. This is where the current logged in person could go to change their password. So then under data submissions, we can go ahead and create a new submission record. So I'm going to choose Pair 12 Extend and the 1800 for this particular submission. I'll choose lot number 7247, and then this data in my file is from December. So I'm going to choose a date range from December here. And then I'll also be submitting a daily submission. So daily is when all of the individual runs are included in the file. If I expand the optional information here, I can include comments about my QC run, and I can also indicate a shift number. The standard for shift number is 1, and that is the default. However, If you did analysis of your data by shift, so maybe 1, 2, or 3, and you submitted data separately, you would get separate reports. So just be aware that when you change the shift number, you will get a separate report for each shift.
And you might be asking, you know, as far as the comment section, well, why would I ever need to use a comment section? And for that, we would say maybe your laboratory thinks there's a problem with the instrument. You're doing some data collection specifically to troubleshoot an instrument problem, and you want to submit that data to see how that compares to the current peer group. That would be a case maybe where you might put a little note in there that says this is troubleshooting information data, you know, collected on certain days, just to remind you what that data submission is related to. And it's just a feature that allows the customer to better manage their data and understand where that data is coming from.
Very good. So right now, the data that I've already provided to the application is collapsed. I can choose the expand here, and I can see the details about my submission. For the demonstration here, I'll go ahead and just keep this collapsed and choose the import file button so that I can bring in my data. I will select the file for import, and I'm going to navigate to my data, and I'll begin with the high file here. So I'm going to grab the high file and import it into the high level. And so those runs have been brought in. I'll go ahead and choose the option to import another file, and I'm going to grab this low level. Again, I'll bring that into the low.
And what Erin is doing is she's importing instrument data files. And one thing to make note of is that STATS-Link allows you to upload instrument data files from over 20 different hematology instruments. And there is a list of all of the instruments that we do accept specific instrument data files from. It's on the document section on your home page.
Great. All right. And so for the purposes of this demonstration, we've set up a mismatch here, where the message to the user here says there were parameters on the level that were not imported because they were not on the assay. So in this particular example, the MPV parameter was available in the instrument upload file, but it was not available in STATS-Link. So that data has not been brought in, and that's just what this message is telling you. So in this case, I'll continue importing and grab that last level. So we'll bring in the normal level here and upload that file.
One thing to make note of as Erin is uploading these files, you may notice that there is no save button on this data submission page. And the reason why is we've set the system up to automatically save any data immediately as it's entered into the cells, whether you're manually entering it or uploading files, the data automatically gets saved. And the beauty of that is if you would, again, get distracted or pulled away from your computer as you're uploading data and you forget to hit that save button and then it times out, that data is lost. In our situation with our website, that data is always preserved and maintained so that you never have to worry about losing data.
All right, and so all three levels have been brought in. And say that there's another person in your lab who is also responsible for submissions, and they grabbed this same data set of files and tried to import one of those again. So I'll go ahead and I'll grab one of the files that we've just brought in, and I'll match it actually with a mismatch here, so I'll pick the wrong level, but choose the upload. And I receive a message here. Since I brought it into the wrong level, you'll see all the colors that are now presented on the screen. As I hover here, I see that the value is excluded because it is outside the high and low limit. And if I have further questions about what that means, I can grab the legend link up on the left here and see further details. So if I would have seen a red error message, that would be something like maybe there was a character entered into a cell. And this aqua color indicates that the data was excluded because it is outside the high and low limits, and values that are 2 times the assay range are excluded. They are excluded from group calculations as well, and that is indicated to you on the reports also. This also indicates that linearity values are not excluded. Of course, that's the purpose of linearity products, so those are not excluded. And then the Caribbean sunset color indicates a possible duplicate run. So for this particular submission, we've already seen this exact set of values across the submission. And so it's indicating to the user that this might be a duplicate and you should take a look at it. So if I go ahead and delete this level and bring in the value, or the low level here correctly, I'll go ahead and I'll do that.
As Erin just demonstrated too, that is also the beauty of the system. If there is ever any doubt about the data that is being uploaded or entered into the system, if there's any doubt as to whether you did something incorrectly, you grabbed the wrong file, it's simply a matter of being able to delete the level and start over, and it's that easy.
And if I was to bring in that exact same level again, so I just imported the low, that exact same file to that low level again, I will be presented with an error message that the file with those runs has already been imported and it will not be imported again, just to prevent a repeat of the same data, same level. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Excel sheets that are available for submission. So I'm going to go to my files here, and I'll show you an example. Streck provides Excel sheets for you to do data entry into and then import those into the application. So if I open one of those examples here, you'll see that the first tab contains guidelines on how to use these particular import sheets. This one is for Para 12 Extend, and it has a tab for each level. So of course for Para 12 Extend, that's low, normal, high. The data is entered by the lab. So of course the date, you can enter the particular text initials, and that information then is all contained in this grid. There's also an example for a summary submission. And I'll open that particular file.
The summary submission is simply for some of our customers, instead of having to enter in all of the individual daily runs, this summary would then just simply be if they, say, for example, choose the month of December's data, what they're doing is they're entering the mean value, the standard deviation, and the total number of runs that that data set entails. It allows them for a much more rapid uploading of their data because they're not having to enter those individual runs into the spreadsheet. All they have to do is enter those mean values and SDs. It's just a faster way of uploading the data, and some of our customers find that their preference.
Very good. Okay. So we'll go back to creating a new submission, and this time it will be of the summary submission type. So we'll choose Para 12 Extend, and the same instrument, but an older lot this time. And the data for this particular lot goes back to the 1st of December through the 7th. Kind of a short window. And then, of course, I'll select summary data for this submission. And I'll go ahead and click the Import File button and grab that summary file. And it is populating that. Okay, and we have that same configuration again where there were values set up in the Excel file that were not set up for the assay, just to demonstrate the abilities here. And so the values have been brought in for all 3 levels, and they're being shown here. All right, so that's 2 different examples. You can also, so say you got partway through the month and you realized that you needed to bring additional data into your submission. If we have not processed that data for that particular submission, so in this case, I believe the data is still available until February 10th, I can go back to one of my submissions by using the submission history link here, and then choosing my daily submission. We'll open that back up again. And I can go ahead and grab that daily submission Excel sheet that is out here and add that data to this particular submission. You'll notice for the Excel file type, and of course those same messages are appearing here. And you also see a message about run date. So the run date must be within the from and to days. And that file that I had imported had dates outside of those. But I now have additional data here for my submission that was added with the second file. So you can continue adding to your particular submission until we process that data for the monthly report. All right. At this point, we'll generate a real-time report. So I can choose the Reports menu option and then Real-Time Reports. And you'll notice that I will have two options here for two different lot numbers. There's also a helpful video on viewing real-time reports. So I'll grab this first one and I'll click the Generate button. You can continue walking the website if you wish while this is running, although the results come back pretty quick. The pop-up that it's finished will show wherever you are on the website.
And this was probably the #1 feature when we were developing this new system. That was the #1 asked for service was for real-time report. This is literally, you're watching real-time as Erin is uploading data, and now she is going to immediately get a report that she generated that shows the data she just submitted as well as any peer group data that's been submitted for this same lot.
So the header for this particular report did indicate that this is the real-time. I'm going to zoom out here so that you can see more of the report at once. But this is the helpful section to give you information about the values that you are seeing on the report. There's also a disclaimer on this particular report that the data is only valid at the time it is run. And what that means is all of the other customers that are running that product can also submit data, and so the values are always changing. Absolutely. So again, as customers submit data, the peer group gets adjusted accordingly, and for our real-time reporting, those peer group mean and SD values are updated and calculated every 6 hours. So if you submit data, right now and get a real-time report, and then 6 hours later go in and pull another real-time report, your peer group data very likely would be different if other customers were submitting data within that 6-hour window. Okay, and you'll also notice here at the top, the current submission is the left side of the grid, and the cumulative submissions is the right side of the grid. And each column is labeled accordingly. The asterisk that is next to the #1 indicates that item lines up with important note #2. The presence of an asterisk indicates that there are less than 10 unique instruments submitting data for the current month's report. And if you remember in the settings section in your individual account settings, you can choose to get an email that when the number of submitting instruments exceeds 9, it will let you know. And again, that will just indicate that the statistical data from the peer group would be a little bit more robust once that number exceeds 9. I'll also note that the report reflects the same units of measure for each parameter as listed on the assay. If there are dashes in a particular cell, that means there were no values to calculate or report for this particular submission. And the SDI values greater than 2 or less than -2 are displayed in white on a dark background. This feature will be released in February, is not currently available on our reports, but is coming soon. And for the real-time reports, to keep them quick and brief, the analysis section is really all that is reported. So the grids and kind of all of the detail come with the monthly report. But if you are looking to see how you're performing currently, you can check out this particular real-time report, and I know that customers use it to help them with troubleshooting. So we'll close that up. There's, again, a helpful video for real-time reporting. At this time, I'm going to go back to my account and go back to contacts. I'm actually going to indicate a different primary user for this particular account. So the secondary user is now going to become the primary, and I'll go ahead and I'll save those changes. So you'll notice I no longer am able to update the information or click edit for the primary contact. And you'll also notice here, if I go into the settings, that when I hover over these, only the primary contact can change the monthly report settings. So the primary contact receives notifications when information changes about an account. They have a little bit of elevated permissions, and they can help manage the contacts at their particular lab, because they can also delete accounts as people come and go and update their data.
One of the major questions that we tend to receive are occasions where maybe you might have a primary contact that leaves the lab, moves somewhere else. In a situation like that, all you would simply need to do is contact our stats department, and the stats department can make that change within our system administratively.
There is a helpful video to help you with the primary contact switch, should you need to make one. At this point, we'll go ahead and log out with this particular user, and I'm going to use the forgot password function. So I'm going to click on forgot password and enter my email address.
In our old system, this was one of the primary calls that people struggled with, is when passwords were forgotten and how to change that. And we feel we've done a really good job of making this intuitive and very easy to obtain your password if it's forgotten.
All right, so we'll go back to the inbox here, and you'll see that the stats password reset has come in. You simply click on the link to reset the password for the STATS-Link account and enter your new password. You don't have to enter the old one, and go ahead and save those changes. So I'll go ahead and I'll log out here. We'll go back to the application. All right, there is a helpful video to help you reset your password should you need to use that function. The next thing we'll do is join an existing account. So as the Stats Data UAT user went through that new enrollment process, they added a secondary user. In order for that secondary user to join the application, it's much simpler, that process is. So the first thing that that secondary user would do is create a login. So we'll click on that link to create a login. We're going to use the webmaster email address and type the password correctly. And then go ahead and click Create Login. We'll use those new credentials to log into the application. And I notice that the application has already found me. So it's presenting the contact information it found along with the matching account information. So if this is all correct, I can choose Confirm and Continue. And then a message goes to the primary contact on that particular lab asking to approve access for this user. So we'll go back to the mailbox here. And the inbox went to the primary contact. So this primary contact is presented with an email message to approve access. I can go ahead and confirm user access here. And grant access for this particular user. So in that case, the user will be able to log into the application.
And this is just an additional security feature that we've put in place to make sure that any account user that does not actually belong to your lab doesn't inadvertently get assigned to your lab. So again, that's another permission feature that primary contact has the authority to control who is having access to the lab information.
All right. And I'm presented with a new message. So I'm going to log in as an admin and go ahead and grant access to this particular user. All right, and we will go ahead now and log in with the webmaster credentials. Get that password right here, demonstrating that the password function does work. There we go. And so if I go to data submissions for this particular account, I can go ahead and pull up the submission history. And since this is an existing account, you'll see there's more data submissions available. So we can open an old submission and take a look at it. You'll see a message here that the submission is locked because calculations have already been completed. So as soon as the monthly report is generated for the submission, you are no longer able to make edits to that particular submission. There is also a helpful video for joining an existing account if you need further assistance with that feature. We'll go ahead and take a look at the monthly reports here. So I can choose the reports menu option and then monthly reports. We'll go ahead and open one of these existing reports. Of course, we're looking at Para 12 Extend. And I'll zoom out here. You'll notice that the header just says Stats Report. It is not the real-time report. This is the regular monthly. And so the first page has helpful information about your report. And as we scroll through, you'll notice that the first section or the first part of this report looks just like the real-time. So all those features are the same as we scroll through each level. So low, normal, high. And then we approach the Levi Jennings section here, and you can see all of the data plotted across the graph. If you do summary submissions, you will not have access to a Levi Jennings graph because you don't have the individual data points to plot. The next section of the report is the SDI. Try not to go too quickly here. So here's the SDI report, or that section of the report. We can continue moving through the historical data comparison. So SD and CV, and you'll see multiple lots there. So if we take a look at the lot numbers, you'll see for that particular due date, we have 2 different lot numbers that we've submitted. And then the customer data submitted section. So again, where we repeat back to you the data that you submitted to us. If a value is excluded, you will see a strike through on that particular data value. We'll go ahead and close the monthly report here.
One feature about the monthly reports, too, that's good is you can see in the monthly reports page, all past monthly reports are always available to our customers. So as long as you have an active account, you will always have access to old monthly reports. So if you happen to lose one, print one off and lose it, and an audit is coming up soon, you can always go back and get those old monthly reports and have them available to you.
If you needed to save a copy to your desktop at your location, you can just use the Save option, as this is a PDF presented in the browser, to save a copy of that file, and you're presented with a dialog box to do so. Some of the other browsers present options up on the top right in order to save that PDF, but you are always able to save a copy of that to your desktop or your file server, wherever you need to keep a copy. There is a helpful video on how to view a monthly report. And then I will also mention that we have a feature available in the application. I'm going to go back to the home page here. We also have an option for lab managers. So say you are part of a hospital system with satellite clinics, and a person at that hospital system needs to kind of manage or view the data frequently for the labs that are the satellites. They can sign up for that application. They can be designated as a lab manager, and with a proper approvals for those satellite clinics, they can receive a special report that brings all of that data for the satellites together. I just wanted to mention that's another option available in the application if that is something that may be interesting to you. Okay, so that wraps up the tour of the STATS-Link application. I'm going to go ahead and log out here, and we'll go back to the presentation for the Q&A session here.
Well, thank you so much for that outstanding presentation, Erin. The information provided will be very valuable in helping customers get the most out of STATS-Link. At this time, we will go through the questions that have been asked through the chat box. Our first question asks, what size is the peer group for ESR checks? And generally speaking, that is one of our larger peer group products. We have the most participants for that particular product. And in general, our monthly reports at the end of the lot expiration, we can see upwards of 1,500 different labs submitting data for an individual lot of ESR checks. The next question asks if there's a list of controls and instruments that can be uploaded for data files in the STATS-Link program? And the answer is absolutely yes. We have over 20 instruments that we currently support data file uploads from, and that list grows all the time as we continue to research and find the instruments that are of the most important and the most frequently requested. We continually add to that list of approved files that we can accept from different instruments. Another question is how do you know that the system calculations are correct? And I can tell you that before we launched, we went through a rigorous and robust validation system to ensure that all of the statistical calculations that are utilized in generating these reports are accurate and correct. And certainly we have taken great strides in making sure that the system is properly validated. Another question is where would I find the Excel submission forms for ESR checks? And I would tell you that those upload forms can be found in 2 different locations. You can find those Excel worksheets on our Streck website at streck.com and go into the individual product pages, and there are links to those workbooks. There are also links to those workbooks in the actual STATS-Link website as well on the home page. And the last question that we have is can individual users working at the same account have different login credentials? And absolutely, every individual user within your lab, as long as they have their own unique email address, can create their own unique work login to the account and to be able to access the data and upload data as well as download monthly reports and real-time reports. So those are some great questions. We are at the end of our time for this presentation. I want to thank you all for attending, and we hope that the tools and information provided will give you a solid foundation for effectively managing your lab's instruments with STATS-Link. Have a great day.